shared with community partners and including state and federal partners and local partners, but that we can really address some of the big challenges in our food system. So with that, I will give you a little bit more background after we go through some introductions that Grace will lead us through.
All right, thank you, Trish. Okay, so we're gonna play popcorn for Zoom here. So we want everyone to give their name, organization, and what brings you here today. So I'll start out, Grace Kaufman with Valley Vision. And what brings me here today is just learning more about, the region's food system and any, challenges and opportunities that we have to further investment in the region. And with that, I will go to Brenda Ruiz.
Brenda Ruiz with the Sacramento Food Policy Council. What brings me here today is I'm really excited to meet others doing this amazing work to promote equity in the food system. And I will go to Alec.
Hello. Hi, I'm Alec Wasson, and I am here in Sacramento. I have a company called Idea Farming, and then I also run the Tomato Products Wellness Council. So we're the voluntary commodity board for the whole tomato products industry, which, as you know, is hubbed right here around Sacramento. And I'm happy to be here today.
Can you pop it over to someone else, Alec?
Yes. How about Michael at Yolo Food Bank?
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Bish. I'm the Executive Director of Yolo Food Bank. And what brings me here today is I'm always super interested in anything that Valley Vision has to say about any system-wide type issues, but particularly when it comes to the food system. And so I look forward to gaining additional insights about our local food system. I will has it been handed to Brenda yet? It has?
Yes.
Shoot. How about Sri? Who I had the pleasure of meeting just 2 weeks ago or so?
Could you repeat the name, Michael?
Sri from Center for Land-Based Learning.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Michael. This is Sri Sethuratnam from the Center for Land-Based Learning. I'm the director of the Beginning Farmer Training Program. I am passionate about food systems wherever they are, so that's why I'm here. And I'll pass it on to Howard.
Okay, I'm Howard Lewis with Cosumnes River College Ag Business, and always looking to see about new opportunities for students as we kind of go forward in the future. And I will pop it over to Elaine.
Sorry. Hi, I'm Elaine Lytle, and I'm the Executive Director of our local WIB here in Yolo County, and I'm a manager over some of the programs also with HHSA. And I will turn it over to Esmeralda Garza.
Hi everyone, I'm Esmeralda Garza, Agriculture Program Coordinator with Health and Human Services Agency with Yolo County. I am here today to stay informed with what's going on in our ag industry here in the county. And I will turn it over to Nicole Walker.
Hi, I'm Nicole Walker, employment job developer at Fremont Union High School District in Sunnyvale, California, and here to find out more about careers in food area. And let's see, Jacob.
Hi all, I'm Jacob Sachs with Alchemist CDC, and we have the Alchemist Kitchen Food Business Incubator Program, which is what brings me here today, and just wanting to learn more about the Food System Action Plan. I will send it to Renee.
Thank you. I'm Renee John with Valley Vision, and I oversee our workforce development impact area. And, oh, I'm sorry, was it the other Renee? So sorry about that. I'm here to listen, and I'm going to give it to the other Renee, which was probably the first Renee.
I'm always excited when there's another Renee. I usually don't have a overlap. Renee Divir-Oki from Sacramento Area Council of Governments. I'm our Rural Urban Connection Strategy Program Manager. So we look at natural working lands and agriculture. Trish and Grace are our partners in a current project we're working on. So here to support their efforts and always learn more. Oh, popcorn. Let's see. Let's go through my screen. Matthew.
Hi there. I think my camera's facing me, but I'm not sure. I am with Find Out Farms, which is in South Oak Park here in Sacramento. And the last 2 years, we've been doing a food program called Community Fruit, where we go and glean fruit and share it with the community. And diverting food waste and turning it into usable, healthy food for those who appreciate it is near and dear to us. And so I wanted to involve myself in this process and I'm excited to meet all these wonderful people doing work in the field. And I will pass it to Anna.
Hi, I'm Anna Tole. I'm the apprenticeship program coordinator for the Center for Land-Based Learning in Woodland. I'm just really looking forward to learning more about the Food Systems Action Plan. This is my first introduction. So I'm gonna pass it to Su-Yi Lee.
Thanks, Anna. My name is Su-Yi Lee, and I'm with the California Capital Financial Development Corporation. We're 501c3, and we provide business training and access to capital assistance to entrepreneurs and small business owners. I'm very interested in the farming because that's kind of a new area for me, but I'm also interested to learn more about the food supply chain system in Greater Sacramento area. I'll pass it to Bree.
Hi, thank you. Welcome. Thanks for having this session today. My name is Bree. I am the Apprenticeship Outreach Coordinator with the Center for Land-Based Learning, and I was intrigued to come to this session specifically to learn more about the workforce pipelines and opportunities that are developing in this region for career pathways. I will pass it to Matthew Ampersand.
I think I went already, pretty sure.
Oh, sorry, there's a lot of people. Nicole Walker.
I think Nicole, yeah, Nicole went already. So
Howard Lewis.
Howard went.
Oh my gosh, I should not pick any people.
Well, how about I'll pick Kathy Vu.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Bree.
Hi, everyone. Kathy Vu, Program Manager for the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. And I'm here to learn, just to see what kind of careers are out there in the food space and learn more about the food system here in the Sacramento region. I will pass it over to Carrie Wood.
Hello, my apologies for the delay there. I missed the reason. We're doing introductions as I understand it. And I'm Carrie Wood, the Chief Marketing and Donor Engagement Officer for the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. And I'm looking forward to listening and learning today. Thank you.
I can jump in since I haven't gone yet. Mikel Davila with the City of Sacramento Office of Innovation and Economic Development, he, him pronouns. Really excited to be here today, given in the pandemic, really worked on the Great Plates Delivered initiative. So within the food systems, working with our restaurants and caterers to deliver hot meals to our vulnerable seniors. Obviously really excited about the economic development section, I think is later on in the month, but definitely this piece around jobs and really just trying to figure out how the food system intersects with economic development, workforce development, and then racial and gender equity. And you're gonna have to help me here, but I'm gonna try.
I'll jump in. I'll jump in if I could.
Thank you.
This is Linda Cutler. Trisha mentioned me earlier, but I'm the CEO of the Sacramento Region Community Foundation. Just want to join with my colleagues here and welcoming everyone to this first learning session about the update of the plan. We're thrilled to be doing this with Valley Vision, and I think it will have such significant impact across all of these categories that we are going to be discussing in these learning sessions. So what brings me here today is just real enthusiasm that we're actually getting this kicked off. So thank you all.
Thanks.
Hi,
Linda.
everybody. I'll go. Yeah. It's Carrie Peterson. I apologize. I've been driving, so I can't read the list. But I'm Carrie Peterson. I'm the regional director for Ag, Water, Environmental Tech for the North Far North region. Essentially, I work with the 15 community colleges in the North State that have ag programs and work with industry partners to ensure that the skills that they are learning within these community college programs are the ones that they need to be gainfully employed upon leaving our colleges or finishing our programs or moving on to a four-year university. And I work with Trish a lot in Valley Vision, so I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you, Carrie. Well, I'm going to call on your counterpart, Jeff Briggs.
I love going after Carrie because she does such a great job of describing what we do. All right, so I'm the regional director for advanced manufacturing for the North Region Community Colleges. Very similar to what Carrie does. She does for ag tech and water. What I do for manufacturing. So basically, we're just here to connect with the region's employers. Figure out what you guys are, looking for in terms of skills, making sure that our colleges are delivering those skills up to our students, so that when they leave our programs, they're ready to rock and roll. I'm here basically just to make connections, listen to what, because there's a lot of overlap in food and food processing with relation to manufacturing types of jobs. So I'm just here to listen and learn and network.
Thank you, Jeff. How about Cesar Dennis?
Hi, my name is Cesar Dennis. I'm from UC Davis Health. And what brings me here today is just understanding more about the agricultural and food career opportunities and seeing if there's any potential for UC Davis Health to support that.
Great, thank you, Cesar. I'm just going down the list now. So Shannon Foucault.
Hi, yeah, Shannon Foucault from, I work at California Rangeland Trust, have a variety of personal and professional interests in this conversation, just in different projects that I'm working on, again, personally and professionally. So thanks.
Great, thank you. How about Rod Malloy?
I'm Rod Malloy. I'm the change catalyst and futurist for NNR Publications, a division of Sacramento News and Review. I'm personally passionate about all social justice issues, and especially food justice. So that's what brings me here today.
Great. Thank you so much, Rod. Kimberly Alvari. God, I saw Kimberly. Okay, well, how about Trisha Funk?
Good afternoon, I'm Trisha Funk. I'm the director of the Women's Business Center at JEDI, that's far northern California regions. And we've been involved in some local foods, local places initiatives, and also some programming and stuff to help support building the local food economy. And so I just wanted to participate and listen and see what some of the other what is happening in some of the other communities and surrounding areas.
Thank you so much, Trisha. How about Keshav Budala?
Hello, I'm Keshav Badula. I did some work with Los Angeles Food Policy Council informally. I am looking for an organization to join more in like environmental science, environmental protection. I'm hesitant with more of business, agriculture, with the nature, with the environment. But I'm just, I guess, listening more.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Welcome. And Amy Schultz.
Hi, I'm Amy Schultz. I'm the Dean for Career Continuing and Technical Education at Sierra College. And I am very interested in this topic of food systems and how it relates to workforce development and skills and entrepreneurship, as well as with our own students and our food insecurity as well.
Great. Thanks, Amy. I think that we've covered everyone, but if not, is there anybody else that we've missed that would like to weigh in, introduce
Hi,
themselves?
my name's Monica. Hi, got
Oh,
me.
sorry, Monica. I had you get checked here.
My name is Monica Souza, and I'm an internship developer for Sacramento City College. I'm personally interested in the workforce and economic development in food and ag because both my grandparents were they were farmers in the San Joaquin Valley. So I had both sides of my family that were farmers. So I'm always interested in what's going on in this area. But I'm really here to learn about the career opportunities for our students and to pass that information along to our CTE instructors and our students. Thank you.
Thank you for joining, Monica. Have I missed anyone else, or have we all accounted for? Megan Young, did we talk to you?
No, but I'm a local farmer with a half acre in Woodland and really excited for these listening sessions.
Great, thank you. We love it when we have real life farmers with us too. Okay, well, I just want to note, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We have so many great partners here. We have some people we work all very much with, especially from the colleges and the universities on the pathways through the Strong Workforce Program and with our workforce boards, but really excited to see new partners in today into this conversation and work closely, especially with the Center for Land-Based Learning and Alchemist CDC, our nonprofit sector's so important. So I'm going to turn it over to Grace now. She's just going to do a quick recap on what sectors we represent, and then we'll get going.
Thanks, Trish. All right, folks, so for engagement with this, with these meetings, we're going to be using a program called Mentimeter. And so you'll see here that if you go on your phone, tablet, computer, whatever device that is connected to the internet, and you go to menti.com, you use this code, whoops, sorry about that. You use this code, and I'll copy it into chat too, to answer the question that we have here. And all of it is anonymous. So feel free that none of the answers are necessarily tied to you. And let me just put this in the chat. So again, we're going to be using this throughout the meeting.
This is our good practice question.
Yep. And you can see that I'll stop sharing so that I can reshare the Mentimeter, and you can see kind of the real-time results of that. Oops. Sorry about that. Sorry, folks, I had the wrong question up there. That was a little bit of a fail. Sorry about that. If you refresh your page now, you should be able to see that question. So sorry about that. Thank you for your flexibility. All right, we can see there's a lot of nonprofit and community-based organizations that are here. If you don't see your sector represented, try and go to the closest. I think, workforce development is a big bucket that you can put if none of the others match. Yep, and a lot from community college. All right, and you folks can continue to enter in the sector there, and we'll move on to the other parts of the presentation, but feel free to continue putting your answers in there. And we'll be saving all of this data and resharing it with you all in the follow-up email so that you can kind of see the summary of the meeting. Now I will go back to the PowerPoint. All right, Trish.
Thank you. So I wanted to give everybody a quick overview of the Food System Action Plan and the purpose of the project. So with support of the Community Foundation, Valley Vision prepared the original Food System Action Plan in 2015, and it helped guide some of the foundation's investments, especially into the emergency food system. We worked with lots of partners across the region, and it was a catalyst to help also focus on the importance of the nonprofit sector and ways that we could get better organized to advance on a set of goals, including supporting the viability of agriculture, increasing food access and food security, and other aspects of the food system, and really promoting a health promoting food system. So it's been 6 years, and in that time, you know, we've had a horrible pandemic that's caused a great deal of disruption and pain. Also been some really innovative responses from the community, a lot of the community partners, and through all that, the importance of the food system continues. And Valley Vision does a lot of work with our system partners, and we know that we have systemic challenges with skills gaps, persistent skills gaps, and creating a pipeline of workers in this particular area. So we wanted to work with the Community Foundation to update the plan, but be, you know, very strategic about this, because this is a time of great opportunity and need. So one thing that's been consistent through the several years is the need to invest in our food system in many different dimensions: organizations, projects, initiatives, and capacity. So we would like to engage the community to help us really codify key priorities that address our critical challenges. There are a lot of opportunities now, especially that are coming through state and federal recovery funds. So to really position the region and to provide some recommendations to the foundation as well about how they can guide their own investments, but it's much more broad that community partners can use this information for their own grant making or project development. So the overall goal is to increase the vitality of the region's food system. And we're on a path right now where we're doing research and convening. We're updating some core metrics about the status of the region. We'll show you a couple in a minute. And then we are doing 6 input sessions this week and next week around key aspects of the food system and key topical areas. Of course, they're very interrelated. And we're also doing outreach and interviews with some key stakeholder partners that represent certain sectors that we want to go deeper in terms of data and input. And then we're going to synthesize all of this information and provide recommendations and key findings to the foundation in September. Parallel to that, Valley Vision is also working with Sac State and Cap Public Radio on a community resilience poll. It's part of a series that we've been doing, and most recently to really look at the impact of COVID on the community. And so this will be the first one that really deeply focuses on the food system. And it's the first time that Valley Vision is doing a poll that's directly related to an initiative and a project. So that's the process. And then subsequent to that, we'll be working with the Community Foundation to go a little bit more deeply on potential financing mechanisms for the food system. Next slide, please, Grace. So we wanted to note that we are aligning and coordinating with other local and regional planning efforts. We'll be sharing data. We're collaborating on input and strategy. We're sharing contacts. We're trying to be careful not to duplicate or lean too much on the same people, but we also want to bring in state and federal partners who have resources and can support us and learn more about our work or inform us about best practices and innovations that we can capitalize on. So the main things that we're coordinating with right now are the Sacramento Food Policy Council's food assessment environmental justice element that's being led by Brenda on the call today and others. And then we also have the Building Healthy Communities project, which has been funded by the California Endowment for the last 10 years. And that investment is coming to an end, and there's been assessment of what the learnings have been and the capacity build and where do we go from here. And so that's the Healthy Food for All Collaborative is also looking at financing mechanisms and ways that we can organize ourselves to be more strategic. And then we, as Renee mentioned, we're working with SACOG on the it's Rural Urban Connection Strategy Project for Sustainable Ag Lands. And Yolo County is also working on a similar grant, and that's really going to allow us to look at food system infrastructure to keep ag viable. Just a few other things we're working on with a network of partners is the region's economic prosperity strategy. And the prosperity strategy is certified by the federal government. And one of the key sectors is the food and ag cluster. And that will enable us to pursue funding for some of the key initiatives that we'll be talking about over the next couple of weeks. But it's a framework that really says how important the food system is for the region. And then also, as you heard today, for some mention, we work closely with the colleges and workforce boards on supporting the career pathways and skills gaps for the food and ag cluster as a complement to that economic strategy. So we're happy to learn about other planning initiatives too that we make sure we align with. So today's session, we're going to focus on the workforce pipelines and skills pathways, including for new farmers and food producers, kind of focusing on that next generation. And also with existing workers, middle skills training and upskilling. It's a big demand for ag tech skills. And then we want to address issues of concern for farm workers and other related topics, including workers and career and income mobility across the whole food system for workers who have really been on the front line through this pandemic. So here's a couple of key facts about today's food system. The food and ag cluster, as I noted, is a major regional economic driver. It covers ranching, farming, forestry, the food processing aspect, packaging, distribution, and support services. So it's a really big sector, and that doesn't even capture the hospitality, retail, and tourism industry and all the associated things that go on universities like research. It doesn't capture food nutrition services at school districts, for instance. So these numbers are kind of baseline. The impact of the sector is much larger. One of our great benefits is that we're one of only 5 Mediterranean growing climates in the world. So we do have some incredible natural assets and advantages. We have a huge amount of land in farm and working landscapes, and we have almost 7,000 farms. And we looked at the data from the Census of Agriculture, and actually, unlike many regions, we do have some farms that we're growing. We're not losing at an alarming rate. We have about $2 billion that comes directly off the farm in crop value, but that generates as a foundation more than $12 billion in overall economic impact through all these other sectors with more than 55,000 jobs. So it's an important part of the economy. Next slide, please, Grace. So here are some of our challenges. However, to farm and create food products, you need people to do that. And the average age of a farmer is 57.5 years. And while 32% of our farmers are categorized by USDA as new and beginning, that average age is 46 years old. It's not an easy industry to start in, and that's why programs like the Center for Land-Based Learning are so important. The average age of a highly skilled manufacturing worker, such as food processing, is 56 years old. So we know that we have these systemic issues of skills and people retiring and the need to bring the next generation up. And then just some facts about the farms. They're quite different across each county. El Dorado and Placer County are much more characterized by small farms. Almost 50% of farms in those counties are less than 9 acres. And so, of course, their income is a lot lower and their workforce needs might be different compared to Yolo County, where 18% of the farms are only 9 acres or below. 83% of farms in Sacramento County lack internet access. We know from all of our work in broadband that the connectivity is poor in a lot of other areas. So farmers not only can't connect to markets, but they can't adopt ag technology. So rural connectivity is a huge issue in our region and across the state. Next slide, please, Grace. And then in terms of resource allocations, we have incredible food abundance in this region, but we have huge levels of disconnect, disparities, and food insecurity. Pre-COVID, 1 in 6 children was food insecure in Sacramento County, and now it's 1 in 5. And our numbers are higher than state and national averages. There's also a growing emphasis on nutrition security, not just access to food, but is it food that makes us and contributes to our health? The food banks Michael is on today, they've just seen huge increases in the millions of pounds of food they distribute, the meals and the people served. It's just been a huge catalytic shock on the whole emergency food system. CalFresh enrollment for people who are eligible for food programs has continued to be a challenge in the region. Some counties do really well, others kind of lag. And that percentage ranges from 35% of enrolling eligible people in Yolo County to 81% in Sacramento County. We just calculated today estimates that we could generate or bring more than $150 million into the region annually just by making sure that all people who are eligible for CalFresh could receive that, and that would be funding for our farmers as well. Almost 40% of our food is wasted somewhere along the chain, and while food recovery is increasing and there's new legislation that will increase that a lot, we've learned working with Michael and others that a lot of communities are not ready for this food recovery process. So what are the implications for how food banks and others are going to handle the supply chain and get food to people in need? So what kind of capacity do we need? Finally, we really want to emphasize institutional procurement, the impact of hospitals, schools, and others purchasing from local growers. Recent studies have shown the great economic impact of that, and we've got some really leading shining stars with UC Davis Health and Sac City Unified and others. But undergirding all that which we live with every day is our growing environmental challenges for drought, fire, flood risk, and others. So being mindful of all of those impacts on our food system. Next slide, please, Grace. So with our education and workforce challenges, this is not everything. We're going to get a lot more detail from you, but some of our ongoing challenges are that we know we have a skills gap immediately in the short term across the sector, and then we have a longer term pipeline of skills workers that we need to cultivate, literally. There is a real challenge in having people be informed, especially younger students, but parents and teachers, about the opportunities that do exist across our whole food system. And then also just in the community, awareness and education about, especially if you live in urban areas, where your food comes from, how you support the food economy and local growers and the whole value chain. And then, of course, farm labor shortages and immigration policy and equity there as well. So some of our opportunities are that we really are trying to seed and test new non-traditional apprenticeships and internships. We have a growing urban ag sector. We'll hear about some of that today. There are new models that need a workforce, and so there's some exciting growth opportunities there. Agri-food tech is a huge emerging demand area with skills for digital and other skills that can really help make our food sector be more sustainable as well as productive, and really we hope can attract new workers in, including along the whole continuum with entrepreneurs and new food producers. And then just overall, the pandemic has accelerated the impact of technology, going online more, using e-commerce, having to deal with cybersecurity, the need for digital skills, at the way we buy our groceries, all these kind of impacts. So there's a lot of societal changes that are affecting our food system and reflect themselves in the skills needed in the workforce. So that's kind of an overview. And I don't know if Patrick Mulvaney is still on, but I'm sorry, I missed Chef before, but he's always with us on our food food endeavors and great champion for our food system. So wanted to acknowledge him. So with that, Grace, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, folks, so we're going back to the Mentimeter system. So for the rest of this time for the audience engagement, I'll be sharing the Mentimeter screen. And again, this code is the same and the link remains the same. And I will share that screen right now. All right, so the question is, what are the biggest challenges in creating a skilled food and ag workforce that provides opportunities for workers? And you can enter in as many submissions as you want, so feel free to just enter in one idea, enter in another. You're not limited there.
And these will start to pop up on the screen and they'll start to scroll. And it's a lot to kind of capture, but we will synthesize the information later, but you will get a sense of what the topics are as they come up.
All right, we're seeing some themes around the cost of labor, finding people to work, the image of the farm worker, and kind of understanding the history of low pay there. Competition again, formal training, a prepared workforce, big challenge. Again, the perception of farming as an unskilled job. All right, we'll just give a couple more seconds for this one before we move on to the next one. And do any folks want to expand on their answers or comment on anything verbally? Can definitely do that at this time too.
I'd like to ask a question too on the inadequate experiential skills building pathways. Is that really you meaning what is kind of work-based learning where people get a chance to work? Doesn't have to be in the field. It can be in any kind of facility, but is that what people are meaning by that? And I know that in the pandemic also work-based learning experience has been challenging.
All right, folks, so we'll move on to the next question here. And so this will be a scale feature that you can use. So on, a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you think our region effectively prepares people for jobs and careers in food and ag? And then how strongly do you agree or disagree that this region effectively trains people for skill building and new pathways in food and ag? Looks like we're in the middle, going back and forth, battling it out. And again, if you want to expand, upon your answer or comment or ask a question to the group, feel free to unmute yourself.
Or offer some insights about why you think that is, because like Grace said, we're kind of in the middle or just below. It's I think we want to be better. So what can we do to build on this and to get a better outcome?
All right. And so we are just below 3 for each of them. So yeah, just below the middle mark there. So hopefully throughout this meeting, we'll strategize different ways to kind of improve that scale. All right, and the next question. What are the region's education and workforce development strengths and assets? So feel free to name any programs, best practices, maybe it's collaboration, different things that you feel like our region does really well that makes us stand out, or that would be a model for other folks.
And of course, organizations as well.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Center for Land-Based Learning with an exclamation point there. Also seeing strong FFA programs, community colleges, nonprofits, and large farms having CAF here. Alchemist shows up a couple times there. Definitely the Alchemist Kitchen is going to be exciting. Supporting services through workforce boards, community service block grant funds, and nonprofit and CBOs. And great community college programs. I heard Great Plates mentioned before. There was certainly a lot of workforce, emergency workforce development that needed to happen in that program. Food Literacy Center, Food Literacy Group, getting youth interested in food. Informal on-farm internships. Collaboration among different partners and stakeholders. Supportive chefs and successful entrepreneurs willing to mentor. Kind of creating that pipeline. Any other comments that folks want to share, maybe expanding a little bit about your program or what you put down, why it's so great, or maybe what made it so successful? This is the bragging time, everyone.
It's Carrie Peterson. I will just say, I think it's interesting to see how everybody's looking through a different lens. Because I know with the community colleges, we aren't trying to push students to become farmers. We're more looking at all of those support jobs that are in agriculture, that are in STEM careers and in processing, manufacturing, all of that kind of thing. But it's interesting to me just to see everybody's kind of different lens, depending on, who they're representing or what they're doing, reasons why they're on the call. Because I think that we all have, I think that this is very evident then that there's a whole lot of jobs in agriculture that aren't necessarily farming, but are there to support the food and fiber industry. And I think that that's interesting. And I'm glad to see that there's so much variety.
Yeah, go ahead, Sri, sorry.
Sri from the Center for Land-Based Learning. I think our region has a huge asset in its the diversity of farm operations, and we attract people who are interested in farming from across, I would say across the country actually. Center for Land-Based Learning, we get people even from New York wanting to come here and learn about farming. And I think that's a huge asset, and I get a sense that we can leverage this even more than we are doing now.
Thank you, Shri. And I think to Carrie's point too, all the things that go to make a successful operation, we've looked at some of the other skills in addition to kind of the ag tech skills. There's the marketing and sales skills. You know, if you sell tractor equipment, you need to know how they work in the field, work with the growers, but on the technology side, or how to repair equipment. A lot of what we've worked on with Jeff on the manufacturing side is kind of industrial maintenance mechanics, which are relevant in all areas of the food system, but there's technical skills. They're very infused by, you know, new things like sensors. And, you know, you have to, the equipment is more sophisticated. So the industry is changing and going back to looking at how what the perception is versus what the reality is of what's happening. And that our farming happens in a lot of different ways too, and offers a lot of opportunity for people. I mean, and the other side, thinking about the what's really related to that is if you look at UC Davis Health, they make 6,500 meals a day. They procure from local growers. They want to work more with system partners like, you know, our nonprofits. The school district is Sac City Unified alone is making more than 43,000 meals a day. So these are huge operations. We toured the new central kitchen. It's very sophisticated. So you might not think of nutrition services as a pathway, for instance, too, but they all relate though to knowing what the farmers are doing, what comes from the field. You know, when we toured the central kitchen, there were things there that the farmers in Yolo County had grown. So, you know, I say we have how can we strengthen our interconnected food system too? Maybe those partnerships are one of our key assets. Okay, Grace, I'll stop talking.
Thanks, Trish. All right, moving on to the next question here. All right. So what emerging opportunities are there in the careers in food and ag that could help strengthen the food system? And I do want to know, the next question that we have is about financing and capacity needs. So let's think of this as kind of separate than financing or capacity needs, but like what are opportunities that are there? So again, thinking about the, you know, the strengths that our region has, what are the opportunities there that we could do? So some opportunities are the intersection of food and ag and automation. Trisha's been talking a lot about ag tech. It's also that connection to broadband. You know, if 83% of Sacramento County farms don't have access to broadband, it's a serious concern. Again, emerging use of robotics and technology in farming, lots of new restaurants, utilizing the urban orchard for local resiliency and access, growth in non-traditional apprenticeships, greenhouse jobs, careers in ag tech and precision ag. How can we do more with less land and inputs? Again, the automation and robotics with ag tech. Exporting commodities is an opportunity. Greater public awareness for the impact that ag has on society and how to preserve and improve it. Growing consumer demand for local food.
One thing that we've heard some of the companies say is that the use of technology actually helps get people out of lower wage, lower skill, repetitive jobs and into higher skilled pathways and healthier type jobs. And then there's the other nexus of food, ag, and health. And the fact that we have a great high quality food, and how do we, leverage those into healthy food products. And that's an opportunity for us in our economic strategy that we've talked about too, that health food ag nexus, which is kind of bounded to some degree with the research from the university too, from UC Davis.
I also see here ag tourism, pretty big here. We have Apple Hill and lavender and blueberry festivals and Farm to Fork Festival. Does anyone want to unmute themselves? Share a little bit. No? I can call on people.
Quiet group today. Well, and someday we'll look forward to being back in person too. So we'll gather over good food and talk. But okay, Grace, well, maybe we can go on to the next question. I think we've got some good input
I had a
here.
small thing to add. I know.
Yes, Sri, go ahead, please.
I know there's a lot coming out on ag tech and robotics, but I think we also need to be conscious about it being scale appropriate and not just serve one scale of agriculture.
Yeah. I think the other thing we're seeing in here with vertical farming, urban agriculture, greenhouses, there are emerging business models or new approaches to farming, like what is the one? The controlled environment agriculture, that would be more indoor ag. So we do have some opportunities for that as well that would help. That they might help with things like institutional procurement year round. But what kind of skills do we need? And that's one reason that we tried through our work with the colleges and workforce boards to convene the employers so that we know what their demands are. And then I know that you work closely with employers too, and you help get people actually into the business of farming too, with customers and products. Okay, Grace, you want to go on to the next question?
All right, this next question. So this is where I was when we started this all out. So some of you have already answered one, but what are the main priorities for current or future projects or programs that the Food System Action Plan can address?
Yeah, are there other kind of training or education programs or pathways or specific kind of things that we can be thinking about as we want to elevate some targets for the project and financing strategies? Do we need to be doing more with K through 12 pathways?
I don't necessarily think that we need to do more with K-12. I actually think when we look at all of the different sectors that are represented in CTE programs, ag is by far the most streamlined K-12 into college pathway. I think we are very lucky in that we have a captive audience that, ag classes meet A through G requirements now. So I think that we certainly are able to pull those students in. I will say our biggest problem with K-12 is our top ag students get poached out of state to go to college a lot of times. So we lose a lot of our really bright stars to out of state schools. So, you know, I think we're working on that at the community college level as well as at the four-year university level to try and keep the talent in our local pool.
Thank you, Carrie. That's really a good point. And it kind of goes hand in hand, maybe with ensuring that students see the opportunities that are in the region. That, I mean, I know some people want to leave and there are great things that they can get elsewhere, but how can we be a real center for food and ag where people want to come to our region too, because we have such great workforce programs and opportunities for people to get exposed to the careers and the skills. And I think, Mayor, I'm looking at this, ensure that projects are environmentally conscious and regenerative. You know, there is a lot of focus in the community on ensuring that agriculture is sustainable. And actually part of the program that Carrie works on at the community colleges, it's agriculture, but it's environmental technologies and natural resources. So there's a whole aspect to managing the resource too, and what the farmers and the people in the ecosystem are doing around that. And so how can we use, you know, mentioning STEM before and other things to really encourage that as another aspect of the kind of skills that we, and capacities that we have, especially with not just health demands, but changes in, you know, the climate, et cetera. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to point out that, and I've written this down, that we need long-term investments into entry pathways, you know, for whether it's the next generation of farmers or farm managers. The process is not just in 3 years, you can't create a new farmer in 3 years or a farm manager in 3 years. It takes 10, 15 years. I'd just like to quickly quote an academic article I read where they compared the investment to what we do in minor league baseball. And this professor said, you know, we invest in how many people out of minor league baseball go on to become players? But that hasn't, do we look at return on investment there? And a lot of these, you know, beginning farmer space, especially people look at the return on investment. Oh, how many beginning farmers have you made? And I think we should look at it like minor league baseball. There's a lot of other benefits than doing this.
So we need our league.
Yes, we need a minor farm league.
Yeah, as you develop, you come up through the farm system, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and I'm seeing some other things here too, and I looked at the Census of Agriculture data, and we know this, you know, that there isn't a huge amount of diversity in our farming system. So how can we create opportunities for more people to engage in the space? And what does it take, Sri, if you're talking about things like a longer term training pipeline, you know, to really develop farmers? What does that look like?
Yeah, there was research. This is very old research, Trish, from 1988 from Eastern Canada, where they looked at what was then called the farm ladder, where the son or daughter of a farmer becomes their own independent farmer. And in 1988, it was 17 years for that to happen.
Wow.
And the farming world has, from 1988, we know where it has moved now. I think we're really looking at investment, at least in the minimum, a 15-year range. And I'm not saying that 15 years need to be funded every year, but at least when we are doing that first initial 5 year, looking at impacts down the road. I think the thinking has to really change. We are mostly in this space. We are only about 3-year projects, 5. That's it.
Yeah.
Whether it's private foundations or government, even the USDA beginning farm and rancher development program, there's only for 3 years.
Yeah. And I think here I'm seeing a lot on the nexus of urban agriculture and access to healthy foods for people who live in neighborhoods, and different approaches and different models that link the farming with food access critically. And I mean, I know that Center for Land-Based Learning runs the program also in West Sac, and there's a management aspect to that. You talked about the farm management. There's a management aspect to all of this as well. And then I think on the food manufacturing side too, we've had some discussions about foods of the future, functional foods, healthy foods, new food products, food entrepreneurs. How do we support the entrepreneurship, working with the farmers that grow these great crops to make products and create the value that stays in the region as well? I think, what will really help us with the strategy too is specific as we can get on some of these ideas that will really be helpful, or be thinking about how we can make them more focused and tangible for recommendations, which would be great. Okay, Grace, I think we might be ready to go to the next question.
All right. So the next question is, what are the main priorities for funding and capacity needs for the food and ag cluster and education and workforce development? So again, this is the financing piece. So that may be, we need more infrastructure for refrigeration, or we need more employees to run our operations.
So this can be for specific things like an apprenticeship program, or it can be for a nonprofit program, or a community college pathway. I know one thing that we looked at is we did a project for one of the farm product groups about the need for ag tech skills, and we had everybody from growers to food producers and distributors, but the point was to really see if we could do a program, what's called a P-Tech program, that helps get students in high school into a pathway immediately. It's like a dual enrollment program, and there's only one or two in the region, so there are things like that that maybe we could be promoting if we can identify those partnerships. It's just some ideas. And Elaine, if you're still on the call, maybe this issue of on-the-job training, do you see how some of the workforce board funding, the WIOA funding, is able to help support some of those activities?
Absolutely. It really comes down to, how can I say this? What we're seeing, and I'm sure we're seeing it, across California and probably other states, is that the businesses in all areas are needing the workforce, and the workforce is not there for them. And this is even pre-pandemic. So on-the-job training, assisting the businesses with that, yes, so they could have a person that they're training, and then the cost is split between the business and then the programs. So absolutely. Here in Yolo, what we're trying to do is almost like a pre-apprenticeship program through the California Human Development, and Esmeralda Garza is our ag, she's on the call, coordinator. And so we're trying to work on a curriculum with the Woodland Community College also and our businesses, our growers, to create that pipeline. So yes, to answer your question, Trish, yes, OJT is always a part of it.
Great, thank you. One of the other things that people have talked about to address some of the skills gaps, I'm looking at the comment about the immigrant and refugee resettlement groups, is the adult education programs that sometimes I think we forget about, but adult ed does deal with some of those residents, and some of them do have work experience, so they do need to be reskilled, but that's also an equity opportunity that could help with meeting some of the skills gaps. So not sure how tight the connection in with adult ed, but it's been mentioned sometimes that that's another opportunity for us. And Amy Schultz, if you're still on the call, I was wondering if you could comment what you see in your part of the region up in Placer, El Dorado with Sierra College and some of these kind of workforce issues.
I think she might have hopped off.
Oh, okay. Well, Jeff, if you're still on the call, I'll ask you, being that you're for the region, you're the regional director, but you're up in Sierra College, so.
Yeah, I don't, with respect to food, really all I know is that it's been really hard to get people to come back to work. So, yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add in that regard.
You mean for the food processing side, the food processing industries? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, when I'm speaking from with a bend towards manufacturing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just really difficult to get people to I don't know if there's just a shortage of people who aren't looking to come back to work anytime soon because they got laid off or what, but the companies that I work with closely are really struggling.
Mm-hmm. So the pandemic just made a challenging situation worse.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, how do we go about this idea of making the sector more appealing? I know some of that can relate to wages, obviously, getting people introduced, work-based learning opportunities, but has anybody had particular success in kind of raising the positive profile? I saw a comment about, needing better descriptions for ag. I think the colleges have, Carrie, you've done some job descriptions for some of the range of types, but not sure how much we're getting that out, I suppose.
Yeah, and I will also say that, looking at pulling labor market data in ag is really challenging because a lot of it is put under a different TOPS code, meaning it's coded, there's not an ag per se TOPS code other than like farming, ranching, there's one for a vet, but everything else that has to do with it ends up in advanced manufacturing top codes or in business top codes. And so it's been really difficult to show really great wage data because we can't glean out just the ag stuff. And so that's been a challenge. The Center of Excellence and I have been working for years on this. If anybody has a solution, please let us know. But unfortunately, because the TOPS code, which is the taxonomy of programs, it's how labor market data is recorded. And so we just unfortunately don't have a really great mechanism to really say all these great jobs because, and my comment was the one about making it appealing. I think we're behind the 8 ball in that, especially with our Hispanic serving institutions, which we have a lot of them in California, obviously, and historically, Hispanic culture, you know, the students that are coming to be educated are first generation students, and their parents are telling them, why would you want to work in ag? We don't want you to be a field worker, not realizing that there's all these other opportunities. And so I've kind of been working to try and kind of offset that and get the word out with our community college students. But also it's just, farming's hard. It's not for the, you know, it's not for the lazy. And so when you say ag, you know, if you ask just somebody on the street, what jobs are there in ag, they just say farming and ranching and a vet and an ag teacher and a butcher. Like, and that this has been the problem for years. And so unfortunately, those of us that work in ag are so busy trying to keep, you know, the train moving down the station. We're not thinking about how are we branding this and advertising this to show that there's so many other opportunities. So this has been something that I've been working for a long time and trying to figure out. And, you know, it just takes, everybody has to get involved. And unfortunately, everybody's busy. And then we had COVID hit. So then there's that. But I just think, unfortunately, it's not a real sexy topic to a lot of people. Although if you ask people, did you eat today? Okay, well, you can thank the ag industry. So I think it's not at the forefront of their mind because they just have taken for granted that there's going to be food at the grocery store, and they don't think about how it got there.
I saw a question here. Does a pest control advisor, where does that fall? Would that, I mean, that's an important part of the sector. Where would that go?
That falls under, that's usually in the plant science departments at some of the community colleges. It's a great, well-paying job that actually does have its own TOPS code, which is nice. And that's a 1-year program, and you sit for a state test, and then you go make, starting at, you know, 60, 65,000 a year. So those are great jobs. Basically, if you aren't familiar, they're basically like the plant doctor, and they come in and they write a prescription. So farmers are not allowed to just spray pesticides, herbicide, any of that stuff. And so what happens is they have to have a PCA who's a licensed pest control advisor come in and basically write them a prescription so that they can purchase the chemicals that they need for their crops.
Thanks, Carrie. Well, one of the areas that we're trying to promote too through the research side is, you know, UC Davis and others really working on biological products, you know, for use in the industry that are healthier. So, you know, what could that nexus be too for people? And then I want to raise the issue too that people are talking about the need for a living wage in the industry and ensuring that workers have, you know, good incomes and living wages. So that's the other challenge for the industry. And I think to some degree, the perception that it is a low wage industry, because even sometimes if it starts that way, if there can be ability to move up and gain skills, then there's income mobility and skills mobility. And we've talked about that a lot in the hospitality and tourism sector too, that, you know, as Chef Mulvaney told me last week, because the restaurateurs are having trouble finding people to work in the restaurants, and he says, don't tell me that doesn't require skills, you know. So there's a lot of misimpressions that seem to happen across this whole food space that, and yet it's critical and, you know, provides community as well as health and wellness for everybody. So okay. Does anybody have any other comments that they would like to make? We're getting toward the close. This is when we need some good ideas for our next steps.
All right, so here's the last one. So again, other than what you've already shared, do you have any additional recommendations, specific priorities to elevate data sharing needs, collaboration needs, anything in this sector?
And let's say, what is the message you'd like us to take forward related to developing the careers and pathways in food and ag and the, for an equitable standard of living for workers and the workforce we need for the future, today and tomorrow? Yes, we will do that, Monica. Thank you. Monica noted keeping up to date on the legislation we can support. There's a lot coming out in the state. I know that Brenda is tracking some of that, and CAF and other partners. There's a lot in the new legislation. We've been talking to CDFA about some of the opportunities, and Nourish California, which used to be the California Food Policy Advocates, has that, there's some really important opportunities. I think we all need to delve into what's coming and understand how we can be ready for that. And maybe we fund a marketing and outreach strategy to build the pipeline. That could be a good thing. I mean, we are happy to see that from the strong workforce side, which supports the middle skills career pathways jobs, the funding from the colleges will continue. Elaine, do you have any updates on the WIOA funding, and might there be some recovery money coming also?
The allocations have not gone up, and in some areas they've gone down a bit. I would say initiatives coming through might. The dollars that are coming from the federal and the state government to localities, Yolo County, of course, will be getting dollars, and we are doing a stakeholder meeting to get ideas of where to put those dollars. Can I say it's going to be in the agricultural area? I can't say, because those meetings are still happening. Is there a lot of dollars coming down? Absolutely. Workforce is a major one of them, because workforce, businesses are crying for workforce. So we are having meetings with our board of supervisors, and workforce is a major topic with them.
Thanks, Elaine.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I saw one of the supervisors was holding the community input meetings. I know Sacramento County's done input process. Sacramento City's talking about that. We have a workforce committee in the city. How sector-based is one thing, but I think it would be really valuable for all of us if we have specific ideas to get in front of these processes to make sure we're elevating the need for the workforce investments and in the sector strategies, because the funding has to be spent within 3 years, but it can really seed some important next steps or some pilots or new things that we can be looking toward. And we will be tracking those and get those back to people as well. But anything you hear, feed into us as well, so we can kind of create a collective information base. I know we've seen some other applications go in Yolo County, for instance, for a food hub. And that's something that we'd worked on with SACOG for many years. It's been a high priority because a food hub will allow us to aggregate more food and get more food to local markets. A food hub can be an employment generator as well. So there are maybe complementary projects in the food system that could help create jobs, and then the workforce side too. And one other thing that we will be promoting is, and Brenda and others are working on this, is financing mechanisms, going to city and county governments and making sure that there are investments in the food system, because these kind of things can help address critical issues like the food security and nutrition security as well. So, yes. We'll try to bring more BIPOC voices into the community. We look for your help on that as well. And we're going to be doing 5 more meetings. So really hope that if it's relates to what you're interested in, that you can help us connect with more community partners and bring as much diversity of thought and participation into the process as possible. We really need to make sure that our food system going forward reflects the community and provides assets and resources for the community. I saw a note about farmland acquisition possible, making more accessible. I know that's going to come up later this week when we have the meeting about ag viability and farmers, issues for farmers. And that is one of the foundational things. A lot of small farmers in the region do not have access to land, or they're renters, and they have especially a lot of the minority, the BIPOC farmers, they go year by year and they could lose their land. And so how do we create structures? Is it land banks or trust or things like that? What kind of mechanisms can we put in place that helps us? I know the Center for Land-Based Learning does the food incubator programs through their the academy, and urban farms are another way that we can help. There are communities that have done inventories of open space and vacant parcels. There's remediation that maybe has to happen, but we can, those are things we can build into a strategy, because access to land, especially in a higher cost area, is really hard. But there are organizations too, like CAF and Kitchen Table Advisors, that are working with smaller and BIPOC farmers to help with capital access and land. And then California Farm Link is a organization that tries to help connect new farmers to people that are retiring out of the industry rather than selling land. I think SACOG, Renee, if she's still on, looking at what we need to do to keep ag viable is creating opportunity for new farmers, especially at the smaller scale, because a lot of our opportunity does reside in growing specialty crops, which are a higher value. You don't need as much land sometimes to make a good living off that, but there's a competition for land, and we don't want the land to be converted. So those are things that we're going to try to work on in the next couple sessions as well. Yeah, thank you, Monica. Mm-hmm. So our next steps are going to be, this is the first one, we'll debrief. If you have any ideas for us about how to kind of improve the process, that would be great. We'll kind of basically replicate the process for the next 5 sessions, pull the data together, synthesize the findings from the Mentimeter and other comments. Please stay in touch with us, get any insights, send to Grace or me, that would be great. And we'll be getting back out into the community in August with some initial findings. In the meantime, we're working on gathering some key data metrics, updating, and we provided a few here, but if you have other data metrics that you think we should be looking at, please let us know. I know the issue of ag and food and ag career pathways is really important, but it's a new topic for some people too. So we greatly appreciate all of your expertise today. And Shree's giving us more options for land access. So Shree, I think you should come to the ag viability session, and we welcome you all. Thank you so much, everybody. Any last questions anybody has? Now's the time before we close. We have 2 more minutes. Quiet group. See, if we were together, we could be breaking bread and having a little of our local food and beverage industry. But we'll try to do that soon. Okay, thank you, everyone. Please stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Shree. Thank you, Linda.
I can't spell.
What's that?
I can't spell.
Oh, okay. Well, you got a couple more minutes. Oh, Thank you.
But you're right in the report, not me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Let's see how many people.